So that's talk about that again from two different perspectives. Okay. Number one, depending on the company. Some company, they design the product, not involve marketing, and the product designed, then they communicate with the marketing. Marketing come up with messaging and positioning, and they sell the product. Then there's another approach, which is during the product design, they involve marketing and then provide customer feedback or provide customers the marketing's point of view and then design that into say marketing. And then a lot of positioning and a lot of unique messaging, it was discussed while the product has been developed. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
you can see there's two different approaches in terms of how marketing is engaged as a product development. And honestly, Corinne, there's no right or wrong approach in terms of what needs to be done. But
Sure.
I would say in general, most of the enterprises, they tend to focus on product development on their own. They might also doing the focus group and the product design on their own, not necessarily engage with marketing. Many of the companies, they engage marketing on the tail end when the product is almost finished. Okay.
Okay.
So that's one. Second thing is you brought up a very good point, Corinne, and in terms of like we if you look at CRM category, the CRM category, they have many CRM players, and the market itself is incredibly saturated, right? I mean, Salesforce obviously taking the lead on the enterprise side, but you also have a CRM that's tailored specifically for different verticals and different industries. And it's even though you feel like, oh, there are so many CRM, it's very hard to find your niche or you find your what I call a white space. You know, in let's assume CRM landscape is this big, and where do you fit against everybody else? Does that make sense? My take on this is let's take a page from the consumer product, a very commoditized product, hammer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you hammer the nail. You use a hammer just to hammer the nail, right? What is so special about that? But when you type hammer in Home Depot or even in any even in the Amazon site, there's probably 1,000 hammers you can choose from. But when you pay attention, each hammer have their unique positioning. There's one, it's just pink hammer for the girls. Seriously, it's pink.
That
Then the other one
I
is
love
like,
that.
there's another one. It's like, okay, the handle is so smaller, it's actually good for a person that has small hands. And then the other one basically said the hammer is so big, it can hand basically, like
That's
a
amazing.
nail that's as big as 20 pounds. So
I love
even
that.
with a hammer, like you read the description, they find a way to differentiate themselves. That's what you need to do for your product. Even though your segment is incredibly saturated, there is a way to differentiate you. Like for example, CRM. There's one company, they basically have a CRM, it designed their CRM embedded into a Google Mail. So their positioning is CRM embedded into your Gmail. That's a great positioning. The other one is like CRM actually only for dentists, right? So they designed it specifically for dentists that they can track their customers and remind, send the dentist an email and say, oh, it's a birthday of your customer. It's time to send, birthday card, for example,
I
right?
love that.
So that you can definitely define and find unique differentiator of your product, regardless how commoditized your product is.